Judge Henwood, welcome to the programme. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. You've been a district court judge, in fact the first woman district court judge in Wellington.
That's correct.
And a youth court judge. Is the approach that New Zealand takes to young people who offend, is it the right one?
Certainly, I think we take the best approach in the world.
Why?
Because we have the process of the Family Group Conference, which is a process. The Family Group Conference doesn't decide the case, the judge always decides. But it is a way of engaging with the families of the victims and the family of the offender, with the police and the authorities trying to brainstorm a really good outcome for an accountability. Plus look at the young person and see how their lifestyle can be altered and changed. The old system, you just were sentenced and that was it. There was no input or no voice from anyone else.
Because I mean, there's talk about boot camps as potential solutions. That seems quite a tough answer. Well,
I don't think they like the word boot camp, but they're looking for some military option. I personally favour working with the families and getting jobs, although there's always a place for a limited component around bravery and, you know, building up morality, but it's not going to answer you long term. You've got to do more about reintegration and understanding why the young person is offending, what's underlying it, and many times there are issues around where they're living. Many of them are in state care, oddly enough. So, you know, I have a word of caution about how you handle these young people.
From your experience, is it worse now than it was? I mean, we all say, oh, it's not like it was in the olden days, but actually, I mean, with the amount of experience you've got on the bench, you can tell us, is it as bad?
I honestly do not think that it is very much different. I think that if you were saying who exactly are they, you could identify it might be a regional thing, it might be a new city thing. If you look at New Zealand, it's grown with your South Aucklands and your big Auckland places and some of rural New Zealand. You can identify the areas. I'd rather just say who are they and let's see what we can do in a practical way, working with the police. Police do a fabulous job. So I love the youth court. It's got great potential and it leads the world. So you're asking the wrong person if you want me to, you know, say that I'd like to go back to the old children's court where you just sentence somebody and there was a poor outcome. No, I wouldn't like that.
Could we intervene earlier? Could we spot... There was a story, 3 or 4 weeks ago, where primary teachers were saying they know when a kid comes in at the age... By the time they've been there a year, they know which ones are the bad ones.
Yes, but I don't know. I mean, you can't just pick kids out cherry-pick children. Because I understood from somebody who did some serious research on this that you'd be wrong 2 times more than you'd be right. But we certainly can identify children who are struggling, and there should be some processes in place to try and help that. And if I had a half an hour, I'd sit down and tell you how I'd approach it. But I'm not in the teaching area, but education can offer a lot if it was minded to.
You're also a member of the Parole Board.
That's right.
And that's another body that is always in somebody's sights for something or other.
Yes.
Are you happy with the way it works?
Oh, it's a terribly difficult job. And it's an enormous effort and made by all the people. There are of course lay people on it, and then it's chaired by Judge Carruthers. Has several conveners such as myself who are qualified judges, and we sit all around the country in the various prisons, scrutinising everything in so much detail you would be surprised.
Because there are always the people who say that sentences should be longer. When we say life, we should mean life. Do you think that the parole system does let people out too early, or are you happy?
Well, a life sentence is a life sentence. You're always on it. But some people are allowed to spend some of the time in the community, and provided they don't breach the conditions. They're still on their life sentence, and many of them get recalled if they're not doing what they've promised. So these are political matters. As judges, we are not political. But I know that we follow the statute that we have in front of us, trying to assess risk, because the safety of the community is the absolute paramount consideration. It's very tricky. But I think they'd say that there's no point in holding absolutely everybody in jail for a lifetime, because many of them can live quite safely in the community, but they do need to be monitored, and that's where you have the area of reintegration, which is the notoriously difficult area.
And I guess that there's the number of people who are in prison. I mean, we have got more people in prison this week,
so it would seem,
than we have ever had before. That would sort of imply that actually locking people away forever doesn't seem to be the entire answer.
I don't know what the answer is, but what I know is that when I was first appointed a judge in 1985, the people coming into the youth court now weren't born. So I'm convinced that the community is where to look to try and find strategies. It's not, a sentence is not going to provide the answer for you. You need to look around the world, you'll see prisons everywhere, communities struggle with this. I personally think a lot of incarceration makes a more dangerous society, so I prefer to work harder at the community end to try and find strategies to divert people away from negative behaviour, you know, getting drunk, drugs, find out what's underpinning all of that and why they can't get on a more positive track. Being in work, of course, is a big thing for people. When they're in work, they're generally not offending.
You're a special advisor to the Te Horihanga youth program. What's that?
Oh, that was something that we had a passion. In 1998, I chaired an international youth justice conference, and we were pursuing effective strategies for young offenders. And so at that time we thought we needed something more robust for the more serious end of youth offenders. Those that were destined for jail, but it would be good at age 14 or 15 to have something that was in the community that lasted time but was tuned, a 3-step process, working with families, getting jobs and trying to turn a young person's whole... identifying what was going wrong for them, why are they offending, why are they in that space, and then working hard to get their education up, get them focused and change their thinking. And that was Te Hirahonga, but the big difference with that is it worked with the Māori community, because I wrote to Dame Te Kahu, Māori Queen, so there's a lot of incarceration going on in the Hamilton Waikato area. Do you want to do something? And she sent me her son, Maharaya Paki. His brother is now the Māori King. We spent a number of years building something together, because one of the issues is that a lot of the people in the statistic are of Māori descent, and that is of concern. So if you talk generally about strategies, you have to get the people that are actually affected involved in the answer or the solution, and so that's what we did with Te Hirahonga. It's run by Justice, but Youth Horizons and the Māori people from Tainui and the other tribes are involved in it. And it's just having its evaluation coming up soon, and I believe that it's getting some splendid results. Even the police are very pleased.
Everything goes in a circle, so we'll take a brief break and then we'll come back and talk about the confidential listening and assistance service, which is currently you're the chair of.
That's right.
Which in many ways ties a lot of these things together. So we'll take a quick break and be back in a moment.